So XAI is trying to block an absolutely terrible law in Minnesota. It's being billed as an Anti-Nudify law, meaning it would be illegal to take a real person's picture and change it to depict them in a state of undress. The problem is, it's so broadly written, it can apply to numerous legitimate uses as well. Calling the attempt clumsy, XAI filed, "Liability attaches even if the depicted persons consented or created the image themselves, and even if the image is never shared. Liability also attaches even if the image has artistic, scientific, political, satirical, educational, medical, or religious value. And again, even if the company has deployed near-perfect state-of-the-art technical controls to prevent the generation of nude images." And a lot of the problem was pulling the language from a completely different sort of law. Quote, "That definition was drafted for non-consensual touching, and thus covers the inner thigh, buttocks, or breast of a man or woman, as well as the groin and primary genital area. HF 1606 accordingly bans ordinary depictions of men without shirts, people in shorts or swimsuits, and other body parts routinely displayed in public, far beyond what an ordinary person would consider nudification. HF 1606 flouts these foundational First Amendment principles. It is content-based and vastly over-inclusive. It bans protected, non-sexual, consensual, and non-disseminated speech that has no connection to any legitimate interest in preventing distribution of non-consensual nude images. And narrower, less speech-restrictive alternatives already exist. But Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison whined that XAI had waited until the last minute to file, 3 days before the law took effect, and almost 3 months since the law was passed. Laws generally take a lot more than 3 months between passage and taking effect, and 3 months isn't a ridiculous amount of time to get your ducks in a row for filing a lawsuit. But still, District Judge Donovan Frank denied XAI's TRO because it would be too difficult to ask Minnesota to not do something. So apparently, if you want to enforce a bad law, just make it take effect quickly enough after you pass it. But constitutional challenges are made all the time mere days before a law takes effect. That generally isn't seen to be a problem. The judge ruled, XAI filed the motion on July 29, 2026, and only 3 days before the law is set to take effect. Such a delay in bringing the action and the motion suggests that harm is not immediate. Well, that's a silly inference to make, and not a legal one at all. Especially since the judge doesn't explain why 3 months was more than enough time in this case. He just says the delay suggests that harm is not immediate. That's a bit conclusory for a TRO. Why would 3 months provide a reasonable opportunity to seek a preliminary injunction before the law takes effect? He doesn't say. And saying that the harm isn't immediate when the penalties are $500,000 for each access, download, or use? A single image made by Grok that violates this law, which, again, is incredibly broad and covers a lot more than nudity, could mean XAI has to pay a lot of money every time someone comes across that post and it's displayed on a screen. A single image could cost them many millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. Users on X are already reporting Grok refusing to make completely innocuous images and videos. One user named Keep Going Annie posted, "Apparently Grok Imagine doesn't want to let me make videos right now. I even paid money I don't really have to get extra credits just to burn through too fast because it's moderating my every attempt right now. I mean, someone tell me why they can just do a little dance while they are working? Is dancing being moderated now? I don't get it. My prompt is just, no words, they dance as they work." The reason is this very lawsuit. In fact, if I didn't know better, I'd say the whole law was just a way for them to grab a lot of Elon Musk's money. The law won't work anyway, The primary source of deepfakes of celebrities and other people is homebrewed AI based on open source models. And as I've pointed out before, back in the 90s there were plenty of horny nerds who were willing to take a celebrity's face and put it on the body of a porn star with Photoshop. Some of them were actually quite convincing. No, you won't solve the problem. You'll only create a bunch more. And cynically, sometimes that seems to be the idea.